G'day, David, back again with another session of the nitty gritty of selling. This session is about appraisals. So with appraisals, for the real estate people, you need to consider what it is that you need to take. And there's some requirements there, like the REA booklet. Of course, you should have your listing form in there, and you should have some statistics supporting the appraisal that you're going to be doing on this property. So, presuming that you've got all that part in order, what else should you take? So one of the most important things is that you should have an up-to-date, current profile booklet about yourself and about the business that you represent. Now, your profile booklet, it should have a bio about you. It talks about where you're from, who you are, what you stand for, so to speak, maybe hobbies and interests that you're into. It should also have any information in there about any charities or organisations that you support, and it should also have a little bit about some of your recent successes in business. But here's the thing, you need to go a step further. You need to help these people as much as you can. Now, you've got to remember, not everybody has bought or sold property numerous a number of times or very recently. Some people you may be dealing with have been in the same property for 10, 15, 20 or maybe even 30 years. So they're a little bit unfamiliar with the whole process. So you've got to make sure that when you go through the process of this appraisal is that you're holding their hand, so to speak. And some of that is by providing some extra information. Now, that extra information may be multiple choices of some solicitors or conveyancing people to use. It may be property values that they could use. It may be some property maintenance people that they could use. Maybe the gardens need a bit of a once over, or the garden fence needs a bit of a fix up or a paint. The driveway could be, and the paths could be water blasted. So if you supply details of certain people like that, it helps them show that you are committed to doing the best job possible. But it could also be things like moving companies, storage facilities, if they need to declutter and get rid of some items out of their property so they could put it into storage. By supplying these sort of things, just creates more trust that you are actually doing what you can for them, and it's not all about you and the commission. You need to be able to assure the vendors that it's about the process, not about a promise of a big price that's going to get you the best results on the day. So it's about the process, and that process includes all those things that I've just talked about making sure that the property is presented well, photography is done well, marketing is done well. So along with all these other things that you put in there is details about the marketing package you are going to recommend. It's all very well to say, oh, just give me $1,000, we'll take some photos of your property. You want to have more detail about that. You actually want to show them that they're going to get 20 professional photos, they're going to get some drone shots. You are going to do a video of the property. It will be advertised in Trade Me, the Property Guide or Property Press, the realestate.co, your social media activity. You need to be able to show the whole process. The other important part that you need to include in your appraisal, which I hope you are doing, is being able to have good conversation with people about what their expectations are, what are their time frames, what are their requirements. It's not all about you and how great you are. It's also got to be about them. I always made the habit of, when I was walking through somebody's property, taking notice of photos and things like that. The reason for that is that then you can have conversation with them about their family, places they've been, and create a bond with people. When you're doing appraisals, it shouldn't be all about just how much you think their house can sell for and making a promise that may not be able to be substantiated in reality. It's about creating a bond so these people want to do business with you, about that trust. You've got some empathy for their situation. So don't make false promises, or don't just make promises about where you think value of this property is. You need to create and show them the process that you're going to go through and how hard you're going to work for them to get them the best results. I've always said it's not about the biggest promise, it's about the process. And you need to actually portray that and say that to your vendors. It's about the process. Because, hey, look, I can promise you $1 million if you'll list with me today. But where does that stand versus showing them the process that you're going to go through, helping them get their property ready, making sure that everything is presented to the best way they can, and all those sort of things. So the next little thing, a tip for you really is, how do you present all this information? Do you just take it along in a clumsy old folder and chuck it on the table? I go way back to 2011 when I went and listened to a guy, Chris Gilmore, talk. And he talked about delivering the appraisal in a box. And so I came back from that and I went and bought red boxes that were big enough to take the A4 folder and so forth, and they were about 50 mils deep. So it was, when you walked into the house, you had this red box, and I'd put it on the dining room table or the kitchen bench, and it created interest and curiosity before we'd even started. And I tell you what we used to include in that, apart from all that literature, I used to include maybe a couple of coffee sachets, or and some pens and some pads, and made sure my business cards were in there, and all those little extras. Because it's doing that little bit extra that makes you stand out from the other 150 or 250 people who are trying to sell real estate in your area. And let's face it, a lot of vendors don't just get one agent in, they get 3 or 4 agents in. So you have to make sure that you stand out and be different and be more confident and be talking the talk and having great conversation with people that entrust them to do business with you. And I can promise you that it's not always about the cheapest commission and the highest price. If you think it is, well, you're half freaking screwed before you even got there. Don't make it about the commissions and about the price. Make it about the process to get the best price. And lastly, ask for the business. Don't just go through that whole process of showing them things that they can do and what's going to happen, and show them the process and then go, look, thanks very much, you have a think about it and walk out. Ask them if they'd like to get this going now. And they might say, oh, look, we're interviewing a couple more agents. You go, look, that's great. Who are they? Because I can phone them and tell them that you've already listed with me if you like. Hey, be a little bit daring. Do things a little bit more different from everybody else. Don't become an order taker, be a sale maker. I'm David Seymour. That's all about appraisals today. The nitty-gritty is selling. Feel free to share this with your friends and colleagues.